Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for July the 22nd. Our readings for today find us in Second Chronicles chapter 8, verses 11 through 18, 2 Chronicles 9 and 10, Romans chapter 8, verses 9 through 25, Psalm 18, 16 through 36, and Proverbs 19, 26. Now we're going to observe a little bit out of Second Chronicles, and then we'll kind of jump into Romans chapter 8. One of the interesting things I told you, I've brought up a couple times about Second Chronicles, First and Second Chronicles, is the way that they portray the kings of Israel. Now remember, First and Second Chronicles is focused on the line of David, okay? And so we're not going to really hear a lot about the tribes of Israel at a certain point here. But the chroniclers also tried to kind of paint situations that made the kings of the line of David look a little better than maybe they really were at times. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. If you go back over into Second Kings and you look at the story of Solomon, you notice that it talks about him marrying Pharaoh's daughter. Okay, well that was something that was expressly against Mosaic law. You weren't supposed to marry someone from another country. And First and Second Kings, they didn't really mince words. They just kind of said this is what happened. In Second Chronicles 8, however, we see that Solomon, even though he knows he's sinning, is still a bit of an upright guy. Because in verse 11, it says, Solomon brought Pharaoh's daughter up from the city of David to the palace he had built for her. For he said, my wife must not live in the palace of David, king of Israel, because the places the ark of the Lord has entered are holy. Okay? In other words, Solomon's like, I know that I'm marrying someone I'm not supposed to, but you know what? She's never going to come over here. It'll be fine because she's not coming over here. So there's a bit of temporizing that happens. We also see that happen also after Solomon passes away and Rehoboam takes over. One of the things that you notice is that it doesn't talk about the northern kingdom. It does acknowledge that Jeroboam takes over Israel and that they leave, but they don't really talk about Jeroboam. They don't talk about the reality that Jeroboam had been given these tribes by God because of Rehoboam's rebelliousness. And it also, it just kind of paints these pictures in a more positive light. While it does give us details, you've got to make sure and read kind of in between the lines a little bit. All right, so let's go to Romans chapter 8. And when I read Romans chapter 8, I can't help but think about the movie Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I know it's an old movie. It's an 80s movie. Kevin Costner's British accent is terrible. All that aside, very entertaining movie. And towards the end of the movie, they're going to rescue Maid Marian. And Morgan Freeman's character looks over at Kevin Costner, at Robin Hood, and he goes, is she worth it? Because earlier in the show, they talked about how finding a woman that you love is worth dying for. That's what got Morgan Freeman's character in trouble. And now here is Kevin Costner going to rescue her, and he goes, is she worth it? Worth dying for? Yes. Now, why do I bring that up? Because that's kind of what Paul is saying here. What he's saying is everything that you're going through now is worth it. In verse 18 of Romans chapter 8, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. One day, all of creation is groaning that God is going to come, and he is going, as it says here in verse 29, for those God foreknew that he also predestined, and that he might be firstborn among many brothers, and those he predestined he called, and those he called he justified, those he justified he also glorified. At some point, this wretched body is going to be transformed into something more glorious, more beautiful, more amazing. We're going to be given new bodies that are going to resemble these, but without necessarily the imperfections or the flaws or the love handles. But the question is it worth it? And the answer is yes. It is very much, and that's exactly what Paul's saying here. It is very much worth it. Everything that you're going through now, all of the groanings, all of the sufferings, all of the struggles that you're having right now, the ones against the spirit, the ones against the flesh, whatever's going to happen, it's all going to be worth it, because at some point you will be glorified. You will become more than conquerors. And this is a beautiful phrase, and this is something that we need to hold on to, because let's be honest, life is hard. It is. you probably are going to have a difficult day today. The odds are pretty good that you're going to have at least one difficult day this week. We don't get happy go lucky every single day. But if you are a follower of Christ and you are being faithful to proclaiming God and to living your life for the glory and honor of God, it's very much worth it. All right, that's it for today. See you next time.